If the place you're applying to relies heavily on an ATS system, then this GIF won't even see the light of day. On the other hand, if you're applying to something that requires creativity, or otherwise inventiveness for lack of a better word, and it actually succeeds in catching the eye of a human, then consider this resume fished from the sea.
So yes, I took this very generic follow form resume and turned it into such.
So let me break it down for you. I began with including my full body profile of myself, starting out with 3 images, choosing one and cutting it out. And then I clone stamped out of existence this little smidge of my undertie that annoyed me a tad bit. Step 2 of this was making or finding a background.
Insert time lapse of me making this from scratch because it's quite literally hardwired into me on every parameter on how to make this. Now, animation. I have a little cheat sheet in here somewhere. Effects list. Which one of these? Dear God, I haven't used this in 3 years. I don't even feel like this is updated anymore. If I have recollection enough, offset turbulence is what I want, I think. There we go. Offset turbulence. Okay, which means I will just copy you and paste. Does this still work? Oh, it works! Oh my god, it's a good thing that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Okay. And then just add some extreme zoom blur, and then that will operate as such. Back in Photoshop, I am using my own custom asset, so that's what it looks like without the blur. And this is what it looks like with the blur. So now with my cutouts in here, make a gradient, add some zoom blur, add some glow. I will change the blend mode of the cutout copy to divide. And then just for one extra detail, I will put on the brightness and contrast layer and adjust that to my liking.
Then to maintain some level of control upon inputting my bullets, I click and drag to make a freeform text box rather than a quick tap, which will allow me to drag any corner around
and format my text as such.
Moving on, the icons, which at this point just adds a bit of persona to the resume. You can visit Emojipedia for a variety to choose from, or you can try searching for a PNG icon and download it if it is an actual cutout. You can also look up the Sims icons, and you'll come across Sebastian Hyde for a bundle of them. And now that the main bullets and design factors have been added in, I'm gonna slap my hobbies in here. Then slap icons of the softwares. Followed by my socials. Instead of typing them in, I figured turning them into a QR code would be the most effective way to direct a viewer to every link in one go. This is how I made the QR code. I used an app called QR Code Generator, which, by the way, this app just has a stupid amount of customization. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. You can even change the corner dots, and you can even change like the dot data. And then in order to do this effectively in Photoshop, you should select all the data points so that your camera can scan the spaces between everything. Because if you just slap an invert layer on and then attempt to put an animation on top or underneath the barcode, none of the blend modes are gonna work, essentially. Or at least as far as my experience accounts for, doing it that way didn't work. So yeah, just do what I'm doing, select color range, and adjust it so that most of the color is selected. This didn't come out perfectly. Regardless, I just selected all the individual jots. It didn't take that much time, and then I cut all the data points out and then put the GIF animation underneath the data so that it would work properly. And now onto the part of this where I turn this entire thing into a GIF. This woman's resume is the inspiration template for making this. Since this woman's full body profile is in the form of a sim, not only did I just take a picture of myself and do a Photoshop cutout, I also decided to go the extra mile and use Polycam to 3D scan myself and put my scan into my resume. Just to make something clear, I did have one of my guardians do the scanning for me. I didn't do it myself, and I don't have some giant 3D rig that's big enough for me to step into and just have it rotate around me. No, I had external help for that. By the way, in order to export any scan you've made in the app,
you have to pay an $8 subscription fee to export it as any file that they have listed.
So once this video finally gets made, that'll more than likely be the end of my subscription. It's been possibly 2 years since I last opened Blender with the intent of making anything inside of it. So yeah, this is me just hammering away brick by brick, trying to patchwork all the jank geometry that my head had. And then I rendered that out in 3 different variations of the scan, put them through After Effects, applied a very basic glitch animation using fractal noise, and then exported them out as 800 by 1000 pixel transparent GIFs. Then I just take my Photoshop file, slap it into After Effects, and then re-slap everything that was meant to be an animation back inside the comp, change the pixel dimensions back to 1920 to 1080 so as to fit to the 3D scan in the center, and export this bitch into a GIF. Oh my god. The sheer amount of space I now have after switching to a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. Bruh, with my 10-point font that I originally had on here, and now I had so much negative space, I can just plaster random shit anyway just to fill in the gaps. Don't do that. I don't even have enough prior experience worth merely to fill in any more bullet points, dude. I'm just gonna simply... And then yes, this QR code is animated and it works. This is also specifically a Popple link. If you don't know what Popple is, link to that website below. And what's really badass is that you can most likely put anything behind the QR code in terms of an animation and render it out as a GIF. And that's honestly just skimming the surface of customizing the QR code to your liking. And then for the icons, I just added in an adjustment layer and applied a mask, only encompassing the icons, and slapped Colorama onto it. And this is the final result. A version 1 with only my Photoshop cut out, and a version 2 using my 3D scan, as well as this.
And then shout out to this chick Elise, because this video would not have become a thing without me having crossed over this on LinkedIn.
With that being said, now to move on to the more intriguing aspect of this whole process. Not all applications on every website are made the same. With that being said, I only looked at these applications over a desktop. I didn't do them through a phone, so...
Do bear that in mind.
So, here they are.
Starting with our first candidate, Riot Games. I shall randomly apply to animation, art lead, and teamfight tactics. So, let's just skip over the origin story, skip over this. These are the only words of importance I see. And I notice that this qualities list doesn't list something absolutely absurd. Duly noted. Good to know. Part of this resume that actually applies to this video. Rendering my resume into a GIF, especially with the sheer amount of detail I got going on. I would also like to point out that I rendered the GIF in 1280 by 720 because that frankly offered the least amount of render time that I was willing to put up with. Then the fact that you have every other file upload option is grade A integration. Plus the web link / social platform links is furthermore grade A integration. Next up, Santa Monica Studios, where the God of War franchise was fabricated. Why PlayStation? Well, I see God of War here, so I'm sold. Responsibilities: run the production pipeline, manage day to day to day to day to day to day issues. Skills: a great attitude and a decent gaming PC. Education and experience. Okay, this exact statement right here, despite it clearly saying it's a seniority position, this is what smashes insecurity into people's faces. Maybe shave it down to 5 years, or don't list this detail down at all and let the candidate learn through trial by fire, because diamonds are made under pressure. A24. Their job postings are intriguing to say the least. That being said, I have no idea what resume drop entails, but just comparing it to everything else, clicking resume drop offers the least amount of excess information that I would otherwise call exposition, but our area of interest is the resume options, which is to say actually has no file restriction on it. So be it any of these 16 file types, A24's website will take it, but while it does not actually specify anything else beyond that, there is a 10 megabytes upload limit, so you ain't dropping no 30-second 4K showreel on their servers. Amazon's resume process is very bare bones. If you want to apply to anything relative to a video editing position or something similar, you ain't submitting anything outside the 4 common file types. Like deadass, their structure for submission of a resume is just limited to a basic DMV style documentation on a piece of paper. Disney's application was slightly annoying. Anyways, I don't think there's much exposition to skip over. They have the resume upload limited to 5 megs and only 5 file types, but at least they have the web link option. YouTube is rather bare bones, to my surprise, though it would appear that a career at YouTube is mostly just centralized around management or software engineering / rules of engagement for how people interact with YouTube. And I mean, literally, most of the listings here are just straight up interaction, user experience, design jobs, as of the time of me posting this. That being said, they do have a web link option. They do not have 16 file types. Naughty dog. A minimal amount of exposition, daily routine of tasks to attend to, the skills needed, or ones that will burn into They don't have all 16 file types, and they have a web link option. And then one other additional detail I just thought was pretty nice was that they even had someone post their relevant job listings on LinkedIn. Sony Entertainment. Exposition, yes. And then honestly, it's still worth skimming over this to a degree that's necessary. 5 file types out of 16 accepted, and possibly a 10 meg limitation. Web link, yes. LinkedIn, yes. GlassDoor, 4 file types, 5 meg limit, no web link. And even if you throw something in here that's MP4, QuickTime, an audio file, and it's below 5 megabytes, it's just going to give you the warning that it doesn't accept that file type. Even if you force it, which is indeed something I attempted to do and successfully failed. College Central Network. As of the time of me posting this, I suddenly couldn't log back into the site just to double check on upload options. This website would otherwise come off as a bit proprietary, for lack of a better word, since it has a built-in resume builder with no option to include a web link or social platforms of any kind. So, I mean, if you do have an existing resume having been made through a template on Google Docs, Microsoft Word, whichever word processor you use, just copy and paste the info from it into the sections and smash that send button. Indeed.com. This is just like College Central Network, where it's just edit a section, add a section, delete a section, no file types to upload, and no web links to enter. It's just a built-in resume builder. And last but not least, my current employer, Picturehead. This company is admittedly still going through an evolution process, and their website is still undergoing maintenance as of the time of me posting this, so who knows when they will officially launch with everything functioning properly. Anyways, my original point being is that I applied through Streamland Media, which is like the main entity that encompasses Picturehead, and 3 other post houses.
Many months later.
To anyone's dismay, this button in particular is no longer here 3 months later, which would have taken you to a very specific website for all the job postings. You may possibly be able to apply through GlassDoor or Indeed as well. I don't know that for sure, but it's worth a shot. Anyways, back to the importantness. All 16 file types accounted for with the 10 meg limit. Godsend. Downside, no web link. So I guess if they would like to add a web link or even a LinkedIn, add both please. I'll give it a gold star rating at that point.
With that being said, I'm just doing this for fun. If you got a LinkedIn or even a website, wherever you uploaded your resume, link it in the comments. Maybe I'll look at it.
And please, for the love of God, do not leave your address on the resume if you do link it in the comments.
Last but not least, always, I would make 2 separate resumes. One that is dead dry and simplistic for some poorly coded ATS system to read, if it is poorly coded, and another that looks like you just put it through some combination of Canva, Photoshop, or Illustrator, but still have it critiqued by someone regardless of that combination. And that's the end of the video.